What's up, everybody? It's ImmaLetYouFinish, show number 174 on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Snow day.
Snow day.
We have a snow day.
I mean, can I just say this?
Please.
I mean, maybe I'm nuts. I just remember when I was younger, we would get a lot of snow. I feel like 5 inches of snow and people are acting like shut everything down, turn everything out.
I will explain to you why they shut the schools down. First off, they don't really shut the schools down because people are still in school today. They have to teach online. So these poor kids don't even get a goddamn snow day.
They don't get the old school snow day.
No, they don't get it. It's like my school is closed today, the college, but I still am expected to teach. All right. This is what I was told when I worked in the DOE school. The reason, if there's a situation where school buses are not going to be able to get down the street, they have to cancel school because it's not fair, A, to kids who are on school buses, and it's also especially not fair to kids who may be disabled because they are not able to transport. So that's the reason I was always told, if they can't get down the street, they can't have school.
But it's not that. But
Eric Adams is a pussy.
There been cars driving down my street all day. There's not that much snow.
Well, and Eric Adams
it
is
feels
a
like
pussy.
the South, because I don't know if you've ever been like in Atlanta. If there's 1 inch of snow, everything shuts down.
It is sort of coming down a lot right now, but
it's
I will
wet snow too, right?
Yeah, so it's not sticking. It's not sticking at all. And at 2:30 in the morning, because I'm old, so weather wakes me up. I heard the rain, and I was like, "Oh no, this is going to be one of those." Everybody went to Trader Joe's and bought everything with chocolate in it, and then nothing happened.
You know, that's my favorite thing, right? All of a sudden, it's 1 day of snow.
You're very blurry right now.
People clean up, really? Not on. It just goes in and out sometimes. That's probably just connection thing. It's how everybody goes, and it's like, you're only going to be in the house for 1 day. Like, I don't understand this. We need everything. This is New York. When have we not, in a snowstorm, been out the day after the snowstorm?
Yeah. Well, no, in 2004 or 2006, that was insane when they were like 900 feet of snow. That was bad. Yeah. And when Giuliani was mayor.
And even still, I feel like the next day people were out and about because it's New York. You have to, you just have to keep going.
Except when Giuliani was mayor and he refused to plow any of the outer boroughs.
Oh, God. Do you remember that? It would be like, people in Queens were like, literally snow up to
only black in neighborhoods, because Fort Greene back then, when it was mainly a black neighborhood, it was like, forget about it. We were like, you're not voting for me, I'm not going to plow the snow. All right, well, speaking of snow plowing, I am just going to football game on Sunday. Biggest, they said it was the most watch event since the moon landing.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm like,
first off, not many people had televisions during the moon landing, because that was a long time ago, and that was in black and white, if I remember correctly. But or maybe my TV was black. But what they say, 12.3 million,
some kind of crazy worldwide number. And the Usher Super Bowl halftime show was the biggest ever. It was bigger than the Dre one. It was bigger than Rihanna last year.
Because people were, already so. And the whole
but there are some people who turned, because I have friends who turned away. They tuned in to see the singing at the beginning and then came back again for the halftime show, then left. I mean, I'm really surprised. These two teams, it didn't seem that exciting. Do you think it's because people thought they were going to see Taylor Swift?
Yes. Do I think? I'm sorry. The entire thing was like, we're going to watch her chug a beer. This is how... I'm not even gonna. I mean, it would almost be like the equivalent of, I guess, when David Beckham was playing sports. Like, I'm gonna watch the game in case they cut to Victoria.
Which no one ever said.
Which no one ever said.
Which no one ever said.
Somebody wrote a really funny thing I saw online, that Ice Spice was everybody who doesn't understand football sitting there like going, what's happening? I'm confused. Wire and Taylor pointing out, okay, this is where I didn't watch the game. You told me it was a boring game, and then it got very exciting.
It was boring. First of all, the Super Bowl is honestly always boring until the fourth quarter. It always comes down to the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl every year. But this one, the first half was especially boring and
Yeah, it was like
especially bad.
it
We were
was like a
just sitting
picture
there.
stool, right? It was like a
We
picture
were
stool.
we were literally just sitting there like, wow, this is fun, not. And then
Yeah.
everybody's so afraid, and Madison Avenue is so afraid to offend everybody that the commercials were dubbed. They weren't even excited. There were no, usually
Oh,
there's a
there was
good
some very
commercial.
funny. That
I was like,
Dunkin' Donuts commercial was hilarious. That Dunkin'
uh,
Donuts, no matter what, come on,
mhm,
that was a funny commercial. The
mm.
Christopher Walken commercial was funny. The mayonnaise, the cat who says mayo, that was kind of funny. The Cardi B one is ridiculous. That was funny, and that they censored it. Is the one where she's
You know
plumping
what's really
dicks.
funny? I don't even remember any of them. That's how much they didn't
Well,
resonate with me.
I
Not one
watched
of
the
the
next day.
commercials.
Anyway, I watched the next day. Well, all the Jesus commercials were obnoxious. Sorry, because
We're
they're
getting a
paid.
lot of those. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, they're paid for by that guy who owns Hobby Horse.
Yeah. Hobby
So
Lobby.
Hobby
Is
Lobby,
it? Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's a it's nice anti everybody message. And also I don't want to ever see Mark Wahlberg. I don't care, Mark Wahlberg. I don't care that you go to church. Good for you. Religion should be private. But again, I didn't watch a game. Everybody's
I know
looking
it's
at
really
Taylor.
funny how some people think they own religion. It's like, hi, I can see 4 black churches from the corner of my, you know what I mean? There's like, I go to church every Sunday. Like
I see one there. I'm like literally
this
surrounded
idea
by
that
churches.
everybody like they're owning Jesus and religion is like, I'm going to need you all to really have 5 seats.
Well, he's ridiculous anyway. All right, so didn't watch the game. Here's what I will say, and then there's way more. Then we'll talk about Usher. But I don't care about people's relationships as long as they impact me. But I have to say, Travis Kelce just seems like the worst kind of bro ever. I'm sorry. When you're quoting a 35-year-old Beastie Boys song, and the one that's possibly in a lot of ways both their biggest and yet their weakest in a way, because it's so not what they became. It's like, really? Whatever. Good for them. Yay for them. They're happy. I don't care. And obviously the psych ops didn't work, or maybe it did work because the Democrats and Joe Biden made Kansas City one. Yeah, there you go. So she didn't drop from the sky and endorse anybody. Lana Del Rey looks so out of place everywhere she goes. Is Lana Del Rey like now her what's her face's equivalent of Bubbles the chimp? Like she's just going to bring this woman with her everywhere. Sorry.
Who just always looks like, where am I?
Where am I? And nobody told me this was a casual event.
Right.
Like you're literally dressing for a football game and you're wearing like a cocktail dress and pearls. And stop. Lana. Did you not get the memo? A, you're supposed to wear red because that's the team colors, and B, Lana.
It's just like it's to watch her, Ice Spice, Blake Lively, and
Blake Lively.
and Taylor Swift all together. It's like,
yeah,
these things don't go together in the same salad. It's like,
well, Taylor Swift and
Caesar salad, one's a Cobb salad.
Well, I mean, Taylor and
one's
Blake
a beet salad.
But it just seems like these women, these famous women, and then, like I said, we'll talk about Usher. Like I have obviously tons of girlfriends. I have, tons of really good women friends. I don't drag them around like accessories. It seems like every time she's with a woman, she's like pulling them alongside of her like they're support animals or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just like Ice Spice just looked like so out of her. Ice Spice was there so that middle-aged white people could go, who is that? That was her purpose.
Even though she might know football because, her brother's a college football
Ice Spice's
star. Yeah, I believe so.
Why was she looking so confused?
Well, maybe because she was in that box.
Is that her face?
Maybe she was in that, and she could have been in that box being like, look, they're having more fun. I need to go to that box over there where Jay-Z and Beyonce are. I need to go to that box.
Really? There's too many white people here. All right. The halftime, I'm going to say this about the halftime show. People complain when people sing to track, right? And they're singing the track. They're not really singing. Here you have somebody who not only was singing live, but was dancing his 43-year-old butt off. It was like, he didn't sound. my only complaint about the Usher halftime, I thought he did a great job. It was a little, I think he should have slowed down the pace a little bit, maybe have a few. He had 13 songs for 13 minutes. I think he could have, not because they aren't good songs, but there was a lot of things going on. Watching it again this morning, it's a lot more cohesive, but there was a lot of elements going on. I know that some of them were so that he could go backstage and change. But, they were like, I don't mind the marching band, but the Cirque du Soleil stuff. And
I like the Jackson State Marching Band because, that was giving college culture in Atlanta with the Kappas coming out and stepping. Listen, it's very interesting to hear, like, I have so many friends who are all over the spectrum on this, right? Some who felt disappointed, some who loved it, others who just didn't feel one way about it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an R&B show. And I had one friend who was complaining that he didn't do enough of his pop hits. And I was like, well, that's not fair that we keep asking anytime like a Black artist does this show, like that it has to be pop. It's like he is Usher. He has been Usher for 30 something years. He's had big pop songs, but he's hit a bunch of his R&B songs have crossed over and been big pop hits. I thought he did great.
I thought
he sounded great.
He looked great. He moved great.
Now,
he did.
Would I have staged some things differently? Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that dancing on the field was great, maybe, but some of the staging, I probably would have had a bigger stage and had something different. But honestly, I thought performance-wise, he did really well. And it's interesting to hear some people who were disappointed or bored. I'm like, well, I think we've gotten so used to having all the things, but even then that doesn't make people always love it, right? Because The Weeknd, people complained a lot about The Weeknd show, and he had all the things, right? He had explosions and that wasn't enough. I think a lot of times, other than Prince, with the men, they just get a hard way to go on this show.
People need to stop using okay, we can
Prince,
all
right.
Yeah, right. We need to now say nobody's going to touch it. Nobody's Prince. We need to stop using that as the bar. We need to go, there's Prince and then there's everyone else, and we start judging them from the everyone else.
Same thing they do with all the women with Beyonce, right? It's like, listen, she performed a certain way. You cannot be like, well, Beyonce did this. It's another level of something. Even like when Michael Jackson did that first one, I thought he did great. I thought he sounded great.
I thought you two did great too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Bands tend to do really well, especially rock bands. They tend to do well in it. Listen, I don't know what else they wanted from him. Now, would I have probably from his catalog chosen a couple of different songs in their places? Yeah, I probably would.
I would have done You Remind Me. I was surprised he didn't do You Remind Me of all the songs.
And I would have given maybe like a little, since you did so many songs, a little throw to your big dance hits. I would have put DJ's Got Us Falling in Love Again.
I was thinking that too. They should have done that.
I would have done like Without You, some of those big moments. But I think he has a lot of records. It's hard to choose what to do. And I think he did great.
He did it. He did what he was paid for, not paid for, but he did research. All right. I'm going to say she's a very nice person. Mm-hmm. She's beautiful. Mm-hmm. I've met her. She's very nice. She has a wonderful art collection, even though the show is getting very mixed reviews at the Brooklyn Museum.
Is it getting mixed reviews?
Yes. The Times basically panned it. Yeah.
What did they say?
They just said it was poorly curated and poorly put together. And that it was... that the art itself...
That's horrible.
No, that the art itself is good, but you don't really... All right.
But poorly curated and poorly put together for an art show is like...
Displayed. It'll do fun. All right. Alicia Keys is... Clive Davis invented Alicia Keys, all right? She was created in a laboratory. When she came out, she was like sort of ambiguous sexuality-wise, but yet
remember first she was signed to Columbia when I was on Columbia. She was signed to Columbia, and they never put a record up. They couldn't figure out what to do with her. They never put a record
Clive is, so she's, they marketed her as this like, virtuoso, blah, 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 blah. Nobody, by the way, nobody in pop music or R&B cares if you can play the piano. That's not why you're getting signed, but she can play the piano. My issue with Alicia Keys has always been this. Stop screaming. She sings My new name for her, is Mrs. Shriek Beats. That's my new name for her. She yells. She doesn't sing. When she goes into her lower register, when she modulates a little bit, she sounds really good, but she has never, everything is 9,000 with her.
When your first note is off key.
Well, that's, in her defense,
everyone, no, we can't
everybody
say,
noted
you are a singer. People want you to be able to sing.
Well,
you know what I mean? And if you're a big artist and this is Super Bowl, I think that we need to stop it. Like, when you start off key and everyone notices that, it's like then you're spending time trying to recover from people noticing that you started off poorly. Yeah. And the people online immediately will like, here we go again.
She just does this all the time. I mean, I will say,
and she
Adele,
looked great.
Yeah, she looks great. We know that she looks great. She's pretty. She's nice. But it's like your job is to be a singer.
Yeah.
And every song you do is at the same level of intensity. It's like the American Idol Star Search. Everything is 100. Listen, Adele is guilty of it too. Adele is at 10 all the time. You need to modulate it a little bit. And so everything is arena rock with her. And she just, whatever, she was fine. She was not the highlight of the show, but I understand why she was there. And they also needed someone so he could go change. But he looked great. He took off his shirt. He was roller skating, for Christ's sakes. He was roller skating and singing. And John.
He did the Usher dance. I mean, come on.
He did the Usher dance. He did the A-Town dance. What do you want the man to do for something he's not getting paid for?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did.
It was great. I thought it was great. It did what it was supposed to do.
I could also understand. I could see what people didn't like. I actually understand that too. But I thought it was great. It was an R&B show. I thought he showcased R&B really well, and
that's it. Yeah,
he didn't.
And I really do. There needs to be a moratorium on mainly
HER.
No. You know what? I don't look. It's not her fault that they keep calling her, and she did a great job. And it is nice to see a woman playing a guitar. But yeah, I don't need a black female John Mayer where you drag her out for everything. That's her decision. She could just say, "I'm taking a break from this," because unless she's actually on the song, on the record, they could find somebody else. But I'm not going to get mad. It's just sort of like, oh, here she is again. All I'm going to say, and then, like I said, we'll move on, is that I'm just so tired, and this is social media. People go, yeah, I didn't watch it. Then why are you even commenting? You didn't watch it. Like,
don't you love the people who
ask me about,
they love to trap, and it's like it's the badge of honor. Well, I didn't do that. Okay.
Right. I don't know who he is. Well, first off, if you're tangentially involved in pop culture and you have no idea who this man is, then you're an idiot because he's been around for 30 years.
And has
30 years.
That means you're not good at, especially if you're somebody who discusses pop culture and you don't know who he is. Guess what? We all have a computer in our pocket now.
Well, it's also like, it's stupid.
Yeah, but my thing is, I'm tired of people they don't look there's a willful ignorance if you just be like, I don't know who this is, da, 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 da. It's like, Google is free, Bing is free, Yahoo is free. Look it up, look people up, look things up. Nobody ever does that anymore. It's just like, I don't know what this is. It's like, it's a badge of honor. It's like, great, clap, 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 good for you.
Like, if you were to ask me, when people ask me, is there alternate side of the street parking today? I don't know. I don't have a car.
Right. You and I, like, even though you've watched Kardashians in the beginning, they're around. We don't pay attention to it. We don't sit on our show and be like, and then we did. It's like, great, that's over there. Good luck.
There's a lot of stuff I don't watch. And the idea is, if you don't know anything about it, shut up.
Especially if you claim to not care, because shit I don't care about, I just don't even talk about.
If you don't care, then you don't say anything.
Right.
If you don't care about something, the very fact that you're talking about it proves that you care because you spent 10 seconds of your life. You want to do the Hall of Fame? Or
let's do it.
Or maybe we'll talk about Beyonce.
No. Actually, no, we should talk about that first because the Hall of Fame is going to be long. So, if you want to talk about how to upstage everyone at a Super Bowl, that
was some black on black crime there. I'm sorry.
Directly after the performance, when they know they bought the spot, Verizon buys the spot that goes right after the performance. Oh, starring Beyonce. Okay, great. There she is. Oh, and at the end of the commercial, she goes, all right, drop the new music. And I will 1,000 tell you, I pulled out my phone and started searching. I was like,
yeah.
is something coming? We were all sitting here looking like, is something coming? And then boom, there it was.
I mean, so far, here's what I'm hoping. This is my I'm here, music critics, if you're listening. This is what white music critics, if you're listening. It's, first off, she's done country music before. Secondly, she's done country music before. Can we please, when this forthcoming record, and so far it sounds really good, and Rhiannon Giddens being on it is great, and working with Raphael, there's all the pieces in play for this to be good. But can we just review Beyonce as if she were not Beyonce, and review her? Can we just, not everything she do is going to be genius, but I think she's not the first Black person to do country music, for Christ's sakes. But so far, so good. I like what I've heard. It does explain these ridiculous cowboy hats and that awful blonde wig she's been using.
Actually really...
So far, so good.
I actually really like both of the songs.
Me too.
I like both. I was like, okay. And I think that Rhiannon on there is amazing, because years ago in an interview, she was asked by the interviewer, why do you think you make all of this good music, your albums are well reviewed, why do you think you're not getting the attention that you deserve? And her energy was, I don't think until somebody like, say, Beyonce puts me on a song or a record, will it go bigger and wide and people really get to hear me and see what I do. And for these years later, for that to actually happen, it's great, because you and I have talked about her. She's amazing. She is so excellent.
She's not a cult artist. Yeah, she's excellent, and I love what she's doing.
Yeah, but not a cult artist. But guess what? You say her name to most people, they do not know who she is.
Right.
You know what I mean? No, so this will give her a worldwide exposure to people who are not just, because, there are a lot of smart music consumers who absolutely know who she is.
Yeah.
This will give her a different level of exposure just because it is Beyonce and she just goes to every corner of the globe.
Right.
So good for her.
I will say one thing all right, I'm not going to say it. I won't say it because it was a little mean. All right, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees. Mm-hmm. So they were announced on Saturday, unusual timing. To have it on a weekend. I am going to tell you, there's maybe two people in that list I would not vote for it, and not just because I'm not fans. It's a great list. List.
Are we going to... first, my question to you is, when you get your ballot, you always give one slot to someone.
No.
You're not going to do it this year?
There's too many people I would
But you always give up a slot.
I'm not doing it.
But here's the thing. You don't think the slot you give up is already going to be somebody that you would vote for? Because anybody, like, this list is really... No,
but then what's the point? The point of this giving somebody a gift. Well, let's go through the list. All right, so Oasis. I love Oasis. They're not showing up. Big Liam Gallagher saying, fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like saying today is Tuesday. Yes, of course he's...
It's like they hate each other. I don't see them both showing up, standing up there. It just feels like one of those things where...
They're not going to play. They have been offered more money than small nations to get back together. I'm pleasantly surprised that they were nominated, because I think they're great. I know a lot of English critics hate them. I don't care.
I am not a fan. Just never have been.
Love them. Those first two albums, I play them very, very frequently. The fact
which people do consider classic albums too. It's
great albums. They're great albums. They're great albums, and the fact that they're derivative doesn't bother me, because they're deriving from things I like.
Yeah,
right. And also they're deriving from things I like, so I don't have time to think of new things. I love them. I've seen them. You know what I mean? I don't have time
to think of new things. It's like, why would I do that?
No. Really, you're sounding like a song I already know. Perfect. Perfect. Great. Saves me energy and brain power that I could spend on something way more important. And I've seen them live and they're great. And Liam Gallagher is the perfect front man. And when during the lockdown, when I was like bored out of my mind and depressed, I would go online and Google Noel Gallagher interviews, and he is fucking hilarious. And his Hot Wings is one of the best because his head is literally exploding. All right. Cher. I told you she was going to be nominated. I told you.
You said that shit. And I was like, no fucking way. They're not going to respect her enough.
Not because I had any insight.
No,
I
you just kept saying it. You kept being like, I'm telling you, I feel like this is the year that she's going to. And I was like, no way. They've ignored her. I don't think that people take her seriously that way. And you were like, nope. I just have a feeling. I just had a feeling,
and this was based on nothing.
You've been saying it for a while. This is long before even meetings happened. You were like, shit. When she did that interview and said something about fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you were like, I'm telling you, I feel like this is her year. It's coming on the next one. And I was like, no way. No.
Well, I will. And she's always on those lists when people who need to be in. She's always very prominently on it. I saw somebody online post what may be the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot. And this person is former music critic, saying, I don't see what connection she has to rock or pop, and you could hear heads exploding. Oh, you mean other than singing on all those Phil Spector records?
And then,
no, it's not even worth entertaining. It's not even. All right, I will say one thing that
I don't think people realize just how many albums Cher has, especially.
And she's had a hit in every decade,
and she's had a lot of rock albums. Though her first albums on Warner Brothers in the '70s were all rock records. You know what I mean? They were all rock records.
All right, here's what I do think, though. You know how usually when these announcements happen, you have a press release there's been no comment from the camp. So maybe she is like, F you. I mean, I don't think she'll.
Listen, like Pat and Neil didn't do anything, right? They the nomination came, they didn't put out some long statement and all of the things.
Well, thanked them. They thanked them. She hasn't even done that. I mean, I still get press releases from publicists. I've gotten one from Peter as of being on the list.
Yeah.
So, so everything. All right, Cher.
But those are the people you could tell really want it, right? Because Peter Frampton clearly wants to be in.
Well, I'm going to say something very mean. One album.
I was about to say, is his big moment Frampton Live? Is that the moment?
Oh, yeah. It changed the world. Yeah, no. Huge album, important album. Everyone had that album. Every human being.
I feel like everyone had that.
It was like the white people's Thriller. You know,
it's like everybody has that album. It's true. It's kind of like
everybody had that album, and he's a fantastic guitar player. And his work with Humble Pie was fantastic, and he has put out albums since. He's also he's ill. He has some sort of ailment, because when he performed last year at that great, the 2023, he was seated. I don't know. I mean, I would not vote for him only because it's such a great.
But I'm telling you, when I'm looking at the fan vote, he's high up there. So,
of course.
He's high up there. And I'm thinking like the rock nerds and stuff, the people who get the ballots at home, the people like you, I think there'll be a lot of people who see his name and be like, that moment is so seminal, like in rock music. You know what I mean? It really is.
Everyone had that album. I mean, everyone had that poster. Because he was so cute. My sister even had. I mean, he was so cute.
Right.
He was a hottie, that Peter Frampton. All right, Peter Frampton, Oasis, Eric B. and Rakim. I'm voting for them 100. If I
it's
vote,
amazing.
I'm voting.
They're last in the fan vote. I was really surprised. I thought that they would get that cool sort of moment.
Nobody knows who they are.
Like, really?
Nobody knows who they are.
Outside of the Black community, you think?
Well, and that's Black community outside of people who pay attention.
No, because the truth of the matter is, in the Black community, we all know who Eric B. and Rakim are, because those records still get played, and that Eric B. is still, when he walks into a room, still you see all of the hip hop heads and people.
No, you mean when Rakim walks into a room? Sorry, nobody knows what Eric B. looks like. Sorry, Rakim is the one where everybody. Rakim is the one who was doing. No, Rakim was the one doing.
He walked into the room.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely know. I would know Rakim.
Rakim is the one who's considered one of the top 10 lyricists. Rakim is the
Right.
one who did all the 50 anniversary stuff. I think they're estranged, but they might be.
Oh.
But they'll get. I would love to see them. I would, me and Tribe. I would love. It's their third time on the ballot.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them get.
They're really low down on the fan vote too. Let's take a break right here, and we'll come back and continue on the other side.
Hey, Pantheon listeners. Christian Swain here, taking a break from listening to a little Shouted Out Loudcast episode. Love Tom and Zeus talking all things Kiss. Of course, I was listening to them on my new Raycon wireless earbuds. They have quickly become my go-to earbuds because of the comfort. These soft tips are the best I've ever used. And at this price, plus a Pantheon discount, Raycon is really hitting on all marks. Sound quality is great too. I really love having these 3 EQ options because I like more bass in the music, but less in my podcast. 8 hours of playtime for the battery is great as well. Surround sound, noise isolating, and awareness mode are all included. These are great earbuds. Go to buyraycon.com/Pantheon today to get 20% off your Raycom order plus free shipping. That's right. You'll get 20% off and free shipping at buyraycon.com/Pantheon. buyraycon.com/Pantheon. Hey, Pantheon listeners, Christian Swain here. Another day, another podcast I'm working on. This time, it's Famous and Gravy with Amit and Michael. I want to let you know that I loved the Factor Meals package so much that I re-upped for myself, and then I sent a package to my in-laws. Like I was with my first shipment from Factor Meals, the in-laws were as excited to try one of the prepared restaurant quality meals. Well, they got the shipment of Protein Plus meal plan and were very impressed. See, being in their 80s, anything to make the meal prep easy is a plus for them. They heated the oven per instructions and minutes later were enjoying a very delicious, nutritious, and dietitian-approved meal. One big win for me. But what really floored them was the taste. Like I told you, it's surprising how good these meals taste. Restaurant quality indeed. And like my own shipment, it really was everything Factor Meals said it would be for some seniors. No prep, no mess meals. Factor Meals are 100% ready to heat and eat. Take it from me and my in-laws. Head to factormeals.com/Pantheon50 and use the code Pantheon50 to get 50% off. That's factormeals.com/Pantheon50 and use the code Pantheon50 to get 50% off. Thank you, Factor Meals.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon Podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month, so just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.
And we're back.
All right, so Eric B. Rakim. Oh my God, I'm drawing Ozzy.
You don't have the list in front of you? Oh, Ozzy.
Ozzy's but my computer just crap.
Ozzy is a lock to me. First of all, Ozzy's one of those ones, when you hear certain things, you go, they're not in? I mean, I knew he was in for Black Sabbath, but it's kind of like, you think of rock and roll, and really he is a person that I think of when it comes to rock and roll. So I'm surprised that he hasn't been in for a solo run.
I am not a fan of the double dipping.
Really?
I'm not a fan of the double dipping.
Even if the careers
yeah,
really do
except
call
for Tina.
it.
I was a fan with Tina because her solo career was bigger, and I didn't like the fact that she was in there with her abuser.
Right.
But I think he will get into. All right.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey. She deserves to be in there, whether people
absolutely deserve.
She deserves.
She really does deserve to be in there. Listen, this woman
you can't have Whitney in if you don't have Mariah, because you know what? Mariah wrote that material, and that's always a big complaint about Whitney, right? That she didn't write.
And she absolutely writes, and she's produced a lot of her work, and
she'll show up.
And she's still here. She's still doing it. She's still relevant. She's had more number ones than anybody else on the pop chart.
Songwriters Hall of Fame. She's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I think I would love to see her. Okay. I mean, I'd love to see Sinead O'Connor. I think that's an emotional. I think that's an emotional, but I'd love to see it.
Listen, I think that if we're talking about true music people who are voting, they will look at the totality of her work, because for a lot of people, she's been reduced to one song from one album. They even forget about the first one, A Lion and a Cobra, which is great, and all of the great albums that followed that, right? So, even, and I know the fan vote is not the real thing, but I look at that to just see where people's heads are at, because I thought she'd be really high in the fan vote, and she's not. Yeah. So I found that really interesting. I'm like, oh, I think she's one of those artists that people know of her from her controversies, but outside of Nothing Compares, I think that there are a lot of people who really have no idea about her catalog. And you're an educated music consumer, right? So you are a person who knows. You can name that random album that was great, that was produced by, but I think a lot of people don't have that. But also look at the
response when she died. I mean, I will say this, the coverage of her death was very extensive. I don't know what that means in the scheme of things. All right. Sade, I mean, I know I love it's not going to happen. I mean, she's great. I don't think. What do you think? I don't think. I love her though. I love her.
I love Sade. I love them. I love that, that they're a band and people still refer to think it's one person.
It's a great list this year. This is a great list.
I think Sade is amazing. That's another one. They're really low down in the fan vote, which lets me feel like when it really goes out and people are clicking what they think is rock and roll, that's going to this whole list, not Cher. Sade is the one that I think is going to challenge people most when they think the notion of rock and roll. Yeah. They're going to look at Sade and be like, oh,
yeah, no. It was kind of vibey, but not. Like I said, I'm not saying, I just, when I saw this list, I was like, look, there's no one on this list who doesn't deserve to be in. There's just people that is not my cup of tea.
Right.
I'm not a Dave Matthews fan, but he's done the work. He's done the work.
Now, here's the thing that's interesting about Dave Matthews Band, because they've been on this list before, and it's really amazing that they have not been voted in. I think popular. And I think that we'll see if they get in this time, right?
I think they're super popular, and also people like him.
Yeah.
He's a good person, which it matters. I mean, things like that.
I think it matters.
I think it matters. I have no use for Foreigner. One hit. I mean, to me, one song that's amazing, and that's because of Sounds of Blackness being on the chart. Isn't it Sounds of Blackness on I Want to Know What Love Is? No, seriously, it's not my kind of music. It's not my kind of music. Is it Sounds of Blackness or another?
I don't know if it's
famous choir.
Yeah.
It's a famous choir.
Let me look.
Not my type. Not my type of music, but undeniably a radio and commercial force. Undeniable. It's just not my type of music. I'm not. I mean, I like some of that kind of music.
Okay,
I like Bad
I'm looking
Company.
up. I want to know what love is. Let's see who's singing on
Sounds
it.
of Black. I think it's Sounds of Black. Oh no, maybe it's not because Ann Nesby would be on it.
And that came out in '84. Sounds of Blackness wasn't around yet in '84.
'84?
Yes, '84. Yeah.
Are you
84.
serious?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I thought it was the 90s.
Nope. Sure? Released November 30th, 1984.
Holy crap.
I want to see
it's a great song.
Who is singing?
Well, anyway. Mary J deserves it. I hope she gets
The song features backing vocals from the New Jersey Mass Choir affiliated with the Gospel Workshop of America. Oh, Dreamgirls star Jennifer Holiday.
Right. I knew there was somebody.
I knew it was somebody too. I was like, I know I should know this.
I knew there was somebody. That's the big vocal.
Yeah.
No. I knew there was somebody. I didn't know who they were, but I knew there was somebody. All right. So Sound of Blackness is wrong. Excuse me. I'm not a white person who thinks all choirs they're the same. I just knew it was somebody. Not my type of music.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve. I will not. Yeah, but that's a great song. All right. Who else? Mary J. Blige. Love. I
don't think she has a chance to get in this year. I don't.
Really?
This is her second time, and she didn't get enough votes the first time. Even when I look at like the fan vote, she's by the bottom again as well.
I think you know what,
which I find really interesting.
You know what? For all of her hits and all of her consistently good records, I still think she's a noise that only Black people hear. I still think she's crossed over in a sense. I mean, she did that great version of One with U2. I mean, she's a consistent hit maker. She's great live. She can sing her freaking ass off. I just don't think she's someone who resonates. I don't know. I think she's great. I love her. Yeah. I believe every word that comes out of Mary J. Blige's mouth when she sings. And if you want to see killer, when she performs on award shows or TV shows, it's as if she will never get the chance to perform again. She never phones it in. Never phones it in. And she's great.
And we've gone through the whole thing. Remember, from Sunglasses performing Angry Mary to like
I saw her once. When I saw her the first time at the Garden, it was a million years ago. I swear to God, she was seated in like a throne kind of chair and like literally was radiating, I could give a fuck, and was like dropping things, and it was like she sounded great, but she was literally like, what? I love her.
Yeah, she's definitely and she's definitely grown her live performance. Because remember in the beginning, some of those shows were like, oh boy, but it was a little iffy.
It was a little like up there in the chair, like give me the mic.
Yeah, I don't know if the voters on the committee will the second time around be like, okay, it's her time. I don't know. You know what I think would have helped. If this year, the music that she's putting out, if she had a big hit, and it would have reminded people of why they love her and put her to the front of consciousness. But with this list, I don't know if she's going to get one of the slots.
Such a strong list. All right. Jane's Addiction, another group I don't get, but hugely important, hugely influential. People love them. Not my vibe, as the kids say, not my type of music. But they deserve to be there.
Yeah, listen.
They're a rock band. They're a capital R rock band. They're interesting. Not my vibe.
The music holds up. And I think that for a lot of people looking at this list, that'll be one that they can really quantify and say, they are rock and roll. You know what I mean?
No, but they're also more than that, too, because they did have some of the hip-hop elements. He started Lollapalooza, Perry Farrell. Yeah. That's a major... I mean, he really...
And I think people really like Perry. I think
so too.
I think people like Perry.
Cool
and because of the stuff that he did, right?
Yes,
starting Lollapalooza and all like that holds weight with like you would know because you're one of the voters. Like when do their ballots actually go out?
I have no idea. No idea.
Kool and the Gang. What do you think?
Yeah. I love them. I hope. That's all. I love them. Yeah, and it would be. I don't know which Kool and the Gang. I'm assuming it would be the entire. I mean, first off, most of them have passed away, which is really sad. I would assume it would be like Wild and Peaceful. Not Wild and Peaceful. Was that album called? Was it called Wild and Peaceful? I would assume it would be like Hollywood Swinging on through. Right. But the songs stand up. They're anthemic. People love them. I love them. What do you think? Kool and the Gang. What do you think?
They have great songs. I think they're one of those bands that everybody knows the song but can't name people in the band, right?
But so same thing with the Spinners, though, and they got in. Can you name a Spinner?
This is true.
Philippe Wynne.
But But we were both surprised, and we were really happy when the Spinners got in. Like, we didn't see that one coming, right? So I don't know. This is okay. And then we've got Lenny Kravitz, somebody who I know you
have no use for. Continue.
You literally have zero
zero use.
But if you look,
the most interesting thing about him is that he was dating Nicole Kidman, and that's stretching it for me.
But
he worked with Vanessa Paradis, But you take Lenny.
But he absolutely is a rock star. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I actually like Lenny Kravitz albums. I think he's made some really great albums. So he's another one that I believe that a lot of people like. And when you look at him, he's just so non-offensive to everybody. He's a cool guy. He plays with everybody. And I think that
he shows up, he's well respected. He's just never done it for me. Sorry. Are they going to induct Romeo Blue if he gets in? Because I would like to see Romeo Blue get up there. I want can he do a Romeo Blue record? I would love that. It would be like when what's the big country star that Garth Brooks, when he had that alter ego, remember?
Oh my God, what was the alter ego's name?
You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yes.
He did. And he put out a whole record as the alter ego.
Listen, I'm never mad at artists coming out there trying to do something
You always
different.
need an alias. You always need an alias. Now, again, Lenny Kravitz, not my thing. Drives me nuts. Blah, blah, blah. It's totally worthy. Like I said, there's nobody on here where you're like, are you kidding me? But it never really is. Ozzy, we've discussed. I can't believe he's not in either. I really can't. You know, to me, Ozzy is like, you think heavy metal, who do you think of? Ozzy, right?
Let me just tell you something.
He's like Ozzy.
People who know nothing about rock music know who Ozzy Osbourne is.
Yes. I mean, he's Ozzy. I mean, he's, again, no objection. And then we did try.
I really hope that the people who are voting and who are the nominee, who get ballots before they vote, really go in. And my hope is that they dig into Sinead's catalog a little more and don't reduce her to one song. Nice. Because I think if they really listen to her work, and let me just tell you something. She really was a rebel, and she was punk to me. Like the shit that she was talking about, the shit that she was saying, the stuff that she was really trying to put in front of people. And it ended up being true, like a lot of it. You know, she was vilified. Right. And I feel like even in the rock world, people turn their backs on her.
Well, what she was saying, which, let me put it this way. I mean, here's a newsflash. The world is sexist. I can guarantee you if Bono had said the exact same things, more than likely people would have given it some consideration, right?
Right.
Her whole... Again, nobody bad, everything. No, she's great.
You know, a lot of people, you know things that are going on. What's the deal with the Rolling Stone editor-in-chief getting booted out of there?
I don't know, but somebody told me he lives down the street from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know the house. I know the house he allegedly lives in. And
I need you to ring the bell and be like, what happened?
Hi. Yeah.
I have a show. I live down the street.
Right. He lives in one of these really cute little houses. I have been told the people who used to own the house told me that he lives there, but they weren't 100% sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, publishing is in such a free fall shit show right now. I'm amazed at anything. And I know Rolling Stone has been really trying to regain their footing and regain their respectability and have been on the top of some kind of more political and they always had a good ear for politics and stuff, but they've really trying to, be ahead of the curve a little bit more and pay more attention to women and Black artists. Cause as we all know, Jan Wenner could care less about either. But I mean, it's still his son. I don't know. It's the schism was between Noah Shackman, I believe is his name. The schism was between Noah Shackman. It's one of those undisclosed, we've agreed to conscious uncoupling, and Gus Wenner, who is Jan's son.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean,
Do you know any of these? Well, I know you know Jan. Do
no.
you know Gus? Do you
No, I
know
don't
any of
know
these?
Jan. I
I
don't
thought
know
you knew
Jan.
Jan.
No, God, no. No, I don't know Jan. I know who he is. I've seen him. I have no idea. He don't know me and I don't know him. I'm sure he has no idea who I am, and that's fine. I read his book though. I mean, not
Mm-hmm.
his book. I read the biography of him on the
Mm-hmm.
recommendation of our pal Jim Farva, and it is holy moly guacamole. It's trashy and fabulous.
We
No, I
like
have
a
no
good
idea who
trashy
this man
book.
is.
We do. We love a good trashy
No, I mean
book.
he's a mess. The guy's a mess, and nobody who's been paying. But no, I have no idea about that. I know. I just read that the people who were fired from Pitchfork are not going to be allowed to freelance for GQ.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, what?
yeah. That the staff people who were at Pitchfork,
Right.
Pitchfork, for those of you who are not playing our at-home show, the Pitchfork was the music blog. No, it's a little bit more, not music blog, music site was dissolved into GQ because they're both Condé Nast. And I just read that Pitchfork writers have come out and said, staff writers, that they won't be allowed to freelance for GQ. I mean, that's ridiculous.
So you basically put everybody out of work, and then you're
Yeah.
telling them you're not even allowed to do freelance work for us?
I mean, it's
Is
crazy.
that the game that Condé Nast is really deciding to play?
I mean, it's really, Condé Nast people
The
went on
Condé
strike.
Nasties, as we used to
The
call
Condé Nast,
them.
they went on strike like 2 weeks ago, right in the height of Fashion Week. By the way, I didn't even know it was New York Fashion Week.
It is happening right now. And there's like
Is it happening as we speak?
Yeah, There's a bunch of It started
Is
like
it me? I know. The reason I know is
it's not you. You know what it is? It used to feel special, and it was the special thing.
Yeah.
Now it feels like it's this random thing that comes for basically influencers, because none of the buyers really go to shows. They go to showrooms and appointments to see the clothes. Now it's just become this weird thing that happens that people who
for
have
TikTok people,
basically.
People.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, I mean, it's not like my world and I don't pay attention, but it always seemed like it was a front page like event, and I have no idea that it was going on. And the only reason I even knew it was going on is that a student of mine said that they were going to an audition for it, and I was like, and it was like NYFW, and I'm like, NYFW? I mean, I knew what it was, but I was like, what?
Nope,
I thought it was like they were auditioning.
There's a whole thing happening right now.
I had absolutely no idea. So, I mean, good week for music so far, right? Usher, Hall of Fame, really good recognition of women and Black folk and different genres. Again, I'm not mad at this at all. Let me, okay, first off, what dumbass actually thought that was Kanye on stage with Usher? Just because he's wearing a helmet? Come on. What dumbass thought that Kanye was actually going to be able to pass security to get into the Allegiant? What is it called? Allergy?
Allegiant
Yeah, the
Stadium.
Allergy Stadium. The Allergy Stadium. What dumbass? You want to? I can't even take this one because it gives me a headache.
It's like
Kanye.
So
Kanye.
Kanye, a person, as you guys know, we're allergic to speaking about on said program. Kanye West dropped his new album. Who is it with? I think I have it. I have this Ty Dolla Sign. I think is it
Tiger? No, Ty Dolla Sign.
Hold on, let me
Tiger.
see.
They're all.
It's hold on.
Oh yeah,
with Ty Dolla Sign, called Vultures 1 on Friday.
No. Is it 1? I thought it was Vultures 2.
No, Vultures 1. And evidently, when he put into use samples of Ozzy Osbourne, it was turned down.
Right.
And Donna Summer was turned down. But I guess he did it anyway. I think he did an interpolation maybe of Donna.
He did an interpolation, and with Donna, he used AI.
Yeah. And
which is scary.
And
right?
It is, people are, both the states are not happy. He changed the Ozzy. He took that sample out, evidently, which is, when you have these digital recordings, you can do that. You just change the stuff. But, it's just like the nerve, because could you imagine if somebody took Kanye's music, if he said no and did it, he would just be like, he would act like it was the crime of the century.
But you know this. Let me ask you this. if you do the interpolation, isn't that how you skirt around the sampling issues? If you're doing a cover version, yeah. So is it that the all right, I will say this. Sharon Osbourne ranting and raving about racism is like, lady, really? We remember.
It's like, you're the most horrible person on the planet. It's like, I love that, like, her ever trying to paint herself in any kind of victim light. It's like, it doesn't work. You're literally one of the worst people.
But I do understand her being, I mean, you know, it hits home.
No, you got to protect your intellectual property. Just do the way you need to do it. Be like, fuck you, you didn't have permission, da 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 da. But you trying to act like you're some like justice for something, it's like no one's gonna buy that.
Yeah, I mean, it's wrong what he did because of what he did. Him being an anti-Semite and you being a Jew is almost like, okay, it was wrong what he did.
And then he had a live stream because I guess, you know, he listen,
Chicago Center.
The interesting thing about him is he still has those fans that love him, right? He sold tickets to that arena. It immediately sold out. He put something on sale. And like the album shot to the top of the charts. All 16 songs have charted. The people who love him. But his live stream was cut off, I guess, because on stage, I mean, I just saw the headline because I really don't read anything Kanye. And it said live stream cut off after Kanye calls himself an anti-Semite or something. And I'm just kind of like, listen.
Courtney, you know who controls the media? The Jews.
Well, you know, I mean, according to
we control the media.
You guys, the thing that's really interesting is
so the cabal, the Zionist cabal heard, you know, and Joe Biden.
It's like, I just don't understand people like him. It's like they're perpetually a victim of something, but then you play into all of that shit. It's like this weird game of I'm a victim, but it's the attention seeking. It's like you can just tell how much he loves the attention. Doesn't care if it's good or bad, as long as you're giving him the attention.
He is an artist. I mean, everyone, when people say artists have egos, I'm like, yeah.
They all do, but not all of them are attention seeking in certain ways, right? If you look at certain people, you can say whatever you want about Beyonce, but she disappears. Say whatever you want about Adele. She disappears. Look at Kate Bush. Kate Bush she's an icon to so many people and she just disappears, right? Like the ego doesn't need to be fed in that way.
Well, Kanye is a special case and he has been a special case from the beginning. And I am not saying he's an anti-Semite and an asshole because he's mentally ill, but he's mentally ill. I mean, he is, and that's not why he is the way he is. But I think that there is zero impulse control. But I just thought it was so funny when we were talking about will.i.am, where people are like, "Oh my God, there's a black guy up there rapping with a helmet on." I'm like, and is will.i.am one of those don't show his face people too?
No, but I guess, you know, now he's having one of his moments. You know, Will is that guy is always techie, so he's gonna do something like.
He's hilarious. You ever seen him on Graham Norton's show? He's
really smart. He's a really smart guy. He's really smart. He's an interesting person and very talented. You know, he really is talented.
No, he made that connection between EDM and R&B and hip hop very, very, very early on.
I mean, I hate the Britney Spears records that he did, but you know, listen, he's really talented.
You know what I read or saw? First up, all right, this is so shallow. Oh, we have a guest today. I forgot to say that. Yeah. Michael Arceneaux, who has a new book called I Finally Bought Some Jordans. I'm holding it up. I'll hold it up again for people who can't see. And he's great and funny. We're going to talk to him. All right. I'm going to say two things that are so shallow and stupid, but that's who I am. First off, Jalen Brunson is an adorable and cute and talented, so much cuter with a hat on. Adorable. Like adorable.
He was robbed last night in that Knicks game with that foul,
but adorable.
Which was some bullshit. Mm-hmm.
All right. And secondly, you know what his walk-on song is? No. Some Justin Bieber song. He has been walking on to Justin Bieber since he was in Villanova because when he played for Villanova, he played that song. He liked it. They won. And it seemed like every time. So here's my solution to the Knicks. Justin Bieber, if you're listening, you need to...
If you're listening, Justin. If you're listening,
Justin, can we talk frankly? Justin, I know you're Canadian and I know you're friends with Drake, but Justin, if you're listening, I think you need to start coming to the Garden. You'll get the good seats.
You will get the good seats.
You'll get the good seats. I think you just need to be there as a human good luck charm, because I think if our Jalen sees you, he will be like, oh my God, JB and JB. I just made that connection. We need the JB to encourage the other JB. And that's what I think. And, people were bitching that Justin Bieber wasn't in the Usher show, too. And it's like, why would he have him? I mean, I know why he would have him there, but that's like ridiculous. Like, oh, you need the pop white guy to validate.
I mean, there's a lot of that. I'm noticing around the conversation about it. Like, he needed to do his pop songs. It's like, why? He's an R&B artist. He gave you an R&B show.
He's an R&B artist.
Why does he have to do his pop songs? Like, we need to stop. This is why I got to be honest. I'm happy that Beyonce's actually doing this country album. She's not the first star to do. Kylie Minogue did a country pop album in 2016 that everybody scratched their head at, but I thought it was great. I think that Black artists constantly get stuck in a box where you're supposed to do R&B and if you're or rap, and it's kind of like, why can't we do every type of music? K. Michelle is making great country songs right now. There's a lot of new young country artists who are not signed, who are independent, and young women who are playing instruments and really writing great country songs. So I love the idea of pushing the envelope of what you think a Black artist should be doing. And people always forget she's from Houston, Texas.
The South. She's from the South.
And there's this, I told you, I grew up on country music. That is what my mother listened to all the time. It's really interesting. In the house, it was Aretha Franklin. We listened to a lot of Aretha. My mother loves Aretha Franklin. But in her car, like, this is back when New York had dedicated country music radio stations. That is all we listened to. So I grew up loving country music. So I like the idea of playing with the fact that a lot of these art forms were started by Black people and we've been erased out of the story. So you know what? Good for her for saying, I'm going to do this.
There's a very thin line between country and R&B. Let's face it.
And blue and all of the things, even rock and roll. It's storytelling. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's best. And it's it's the Ice-T quote, which I'm going to probably mangle, but Ice-T famously said, country music artists and hip hop artists are the only two people who sing about guns, cars, and show up at award shows with hats on.
It's very true. It is very, very,
she has every right to do a country album. I have absolutely no problem with her doing a country album. I did think, I understand why she did the Verizon thing and the Super Bowl. It would have been nice. Poor Usher was already fighting against like the Taylor thing. Like, can he live?
But the good thing is he'll get the boost and the amount of people that watched. He got the thing that he's going to need to get out of it. Right?
I like his new record, by the way.
I like the new record.
I like
too.
it a little bit.
Surprisingly enough, I was like,
I like it.
I
like it. He's a consistent album artist. He really
is. He is.
And I saw that headline we posted when they said the comeback. He ain't been nowhere.
That's true.
Consistent.
He's been here. He's been putting out music. Listen. It is hard when you have a 30-something year career. Yeah, there's dips in that shit because people lose interest. The way the press writes about you, lose interest. They always go to the new thing. So sometimes you need that thing that shakes everybody up to remind you. And I'm tired of everything being phrased as a comeback when somebody returns. It's like everything is not a comeback. Some things are the next album. People have to be coming back from somewhere. It's not just because 2 years off is not a comeback. It is. Here's my new album.
Right. Well, it also, we grew up at a time where albums were put out every year, but he's not exactly been hiding. He's been doing a residency in Vegas. So it's not like he's performing in a cave somewhere, which has been getting raved. Yeah, a comeback. Maybe he's a comeback to you because you don't pay attention to it, but he's been LL Cool J. That was a comeback because he was coming off a record that got panned. Okay. But just because, like Beyonce, this will not be a comeback. You can't have a comeback after a huge hit. A comeback means something has happened. If Kate Bush were to put out an album tomorrow, that's
a comeback because there's not been an album in years.
If Sade puts out a record, That's a comeback.
Which they've been working on one for a while that we thought was coming last year. So hopefully there is one coming this year.
Right. No, I mean, so a comeback, you have to, it's the back part.
Yeah, it's like the way they use certain shit, it really drives me nuts. It's like, it's the comeback of the da-da-da-da-da. It's like from the guy who we've been seeing for the last 4 years.
Yeah. If Oasis gets back together, inshallah,
that would be a comeback. That would be the comeback for the ages.
Of ever. Yeah, that would be a comeback
the one that no one saw coming.
And they also really hate each other. I mean, you have to give them credit for that. You have to give them credit for the fact that this is not some manufactured feud. They hate each other. Like with
brothers who are like, I hate you.
Well, Noel Gallagher told this.
Why do they hate each other? What is the deal? Does something happen?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think they grew up together. Well, Noel Gallagher. I think they grew up in a chaotic Irish household and they all hate each other. Well, I think possibly because Noel was writing all the songs, and Liam maybe, I don't know, maybe Liam Neeson. Oh my God. Maybe Liam Gallagher is not a great guy. I mean, they were both high as kites for a very long time. I think Liam Liam has a baby with one of your girlfriends.
All Saints.
Yes.
Well, yes. They were married.
Oh, were they married?
They were married, and then I think that
he's an indiscriminate breeder.
And she was like, they have songs
Patsy
about
Kensit.
Yeah.
No, was married to Patsy Kensit too, right?
I mean, there's songs about their relationship, him and Nicole from Nicole Appleton.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm texting our guest right now.
Mm-hmm.
Should we take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with our guest. Listen, Lent starts tomorrow. I got to get in my quarter pounder with cheese. And we're back.
I told Courtney, we have a special guest. I'm going to do what I do every time. I'm going to hold up a book, even though we're just audio, to prove to you that I read it. Wait, I'll take the bookmark out. I read the whole thing. No. Michael Arceneaux is here. Did I pronounce it correctly?
You did. Thank you.
All right. I know the French. I finally bought some Jordans. Can I just say, you mentioned the sneakers app. My son used to work for the sneakers app.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you should have gotten to know me before. I could have gotten.
I was just thinking. Should have asked for the hookup.
I get the friends and family did. Michael, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are fans.
I appreciate that.
And I feel like you and Courtney must know each other because you both ran in the same Black Gay Mafia.
Well, here's the crazy thing. Starting your book, when you see Don Lemon and you're having that whole conversation with him at the first Native Son Awards, I was the DJ.
I just think every time I hear, oh, really?
Wow, okay.
I was. Mm-hmm. Bill and I did a bunch of them, and the first one, Emil was the one who got me to come out of DJ retirement and play publicly. I'd only played once in years. I did it for CJ. Do you know CJ? CJ had...
Yeah.
CJ's 40th birthday party, he got me to come out of DJ retirement, and I did his 40th birthday. And then Emil really got me to come out and play publicly. I hadn't done it in years and years and years for a couple of the Native Sons, including the first one. So yeah,
CJ is great, and we love Emil, living legend, the legend.
And he was my editor for a minute at Vibe when I wrote for Vibe.
I know your name, Icon.
All right, you're done. We'll just plug the book. All right, so like you, Michael, Courtney and I have also been dissed by an R&B singer.
It's an interesting club.
It's like
actually, I've had a verbal altercation with altercation is giving it way more credit. But Howard Hewitt, this sounds like a song like, remember Count Basie, T-Boz tried to talk to me? Howard Hewitt tried to step to me. Continue.
The fact that I immediately got a visual,
right?
A lot of sass and like fire ready to go.
On the roof of a building in LA when K-Day was doing Luther Vandross Day. Disgusting.
I want that recaptured in some biopic that'll actually be good.
Howard, I always say it, and then I'm sorry, I'll let you. Howard Hewitt should be grateful that any white woman even knew who the fuck he was.
I was gonna say that's very crossover. Actually, that was a good time for him to like.
I had written a mixed review of his record.
And that's only gotten worse now because now they just make sure you wouldn't be able to get employed anywhere or contracted.
Right. So, Michael, this is it's a great book because you're looking at things that are in some ways not very funny. Lockdown, not a particularly amusing period of our lives. The entire power grid going out in Texas, not a bunch of chuckles, I would imagine.
It was not at the time, no.
No, not a fun time. Even though you're young, but getting older, not fun. Yes. Not being able to afford shit, not fun. Watching things fall apart. But you look at it in a very sort of insightful, but yet still funny way. So what brought this book about? Because you had two bestsellers before that with great titles. You come up with great titles, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One bestseller, the second, which it did all right, but the plague had just started, so bookstores were closed. What a awful experience. But shout out to everybody that did get I Don't Want to Die Poor. And years of TV development, which has been an interesting lesson. Thank you for saying it's funny because honestly, my biggest fear this whole time is I hope people don't hate this book because I worry I sound like such a downer. This was really like my hardest book to write. Initially when I wrote it, it had a different name. I wasn't going to say it was like the conclusion of a trio per se, but that is kind of where I was leaning towards. Like in my mind, I thought, I'll tie like kind of a happier bow around the darker subject matter of the first two. And just honestly, a lot of life happened between as I write about losing a lot of people, and then I write again about how the plague impacted me in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize. I'm still kind of learning about myself from that period. And then ultimately, which people will find out when they get the book next month, my mom was diagnosed. Well, I don't really talk too much about that, but I do note that my mom passed away while writing the book. She was diagnosed with cancer, kind of while I was at the point where I felt like I was finally getting over some of the grief I was talking about in the book. And then literally 10 minutes after I saw my editor in LA, my mom told me she had cancer.
Oh, God.
So I wasn't feeling very funny. The material initially, I think I talked to my editor a lot. It sounded like me, but clearly I was in a space. I just had to put a lot of work into it last year. And I didn't necessarily know if I was being funny. But I thought, my family, all of us are funny in our individual ways, and we all have a shared dark past, and then collectively have some experiences. But everyone has a sense of humor, a strong point of view, and for me, ultimately, like maybe even subconsciously, for me, if I don't know how to laugh at things, I don't really have much to keep going. Right. So that was the place that I try to pull from. But thank you for saying that, because I really actually worried about whether or not people would actually laugh, and I've been pleasantly surprised by what I've been
It's funny.
So far. So
I told Amy,
thank you.
This morning was the first time Amy and I actually talked about the book. And I was like, it's really funny. She said, it's heavy subject matter. I was like, yeah, but it made me laugh. I was like,
right.
I appreciate that kind of humor. You know what I mean? Even like the way you were describing, because I have friends who went to see the Set It Off musical, right? And that play that they did, and just the way you described it, I remember the conversations people were having with me about it, and I was finding myself laughing as I was reading your description of it, because I was like, that sounds like what people said to me who saw it, So yeah, I do. I think you have a really good approach, and I absolutely believe when people read this book next month, they will they'll get the seriousness of what you're talking about, but there's also the heart that makes you laugh in it.
I will tell you the drunk Millie Jackson.
Thank you.
Okay. I've told Courtney this story before, but I'll tell you, when I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant, and looking more fat than actually pregnant, but pregnant nonetheless. BAM used to rent out Brooklyn Academy Music used to rent out the Opera House, because this was back when nobody wanted to come to Brooklyn because they were like, Brooklyn. And she performed. And so I worked at BAM, and so I went to go see her, and I'm visibly something. And I was going to go to my seat. I had really good seats, but I was so afraid that Millie Jackson was going to see me. And I was one of the few white people there and pregnant, that she would like literally call me out from on stage and go, "Why aren't you sitting down, you white bitch?" Blah, 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 blah. I was terrified of...
On brand.
I was terrified of walking to my legitimate seat that I waited by the lighting, the sound guy. I was like afraid of a woman who was nowhere near me. I was afraid of her. I was afraid of Millie Jackson. So drunk Millie Jackson, I was perfect. That was perfect.
Yes, I put a lot of work in that. I wanted to honor that neighbor, but also be very honest. It was always those teasers. You didn't get yelled at, did you? Did you?
No, I stayed. No, I stayed in the back. I wasn't
safe. Okay.
Yeah. No, this is Fort Greene in 1988. I'm not walking my fat white ass down to a seat. I'm not that stupid. I stayed put.
Shout out to white people that know their status in black spaces.
Especially when Millie Jackson is in.
When Millie Jackson's on, if it'd been De La Soul, I would have wandered my ass down. I'm like, it's Millie Jackson. I'm staying put. Yeah, I know. But yeah, that is a hilarious, and that's like such. I love the idea about just any music reference. So please explain the Toni Braxton thing. I need clarity on this.
Honestly, as I capture in the book, I am. This is when Twitter was less of an insufferable place. I'm all excited. Toni Braxton has put out new music. Solo new music, because if you watch Braxton Family Values, Babyface and everybody had to literally beg and plead for her to return to music. And me, someone who used to write fake Babyface songs inspired by Toni Braxton at 8, before puberty changed my voice when I thought I could be a singer.
I'm sorry, I have to show.
Yes.
You could call yourself Maybeface.
Maybeface. Young, it was little Babyface. Then I used to could sing before puberty stole it away, and public arts was decimated in Texas, so I couldn't get vocal training. But I used to write like fake R&B songs. I love Toni Braxton. Like I was as a kid, my mom bought a Fisher-Price record player for me so I could listen to Sade. I found out through her and my sister the last 2 years, like she used to drive around the car because I would keep crying until a specific Anita Baker song would come on. And so she would drive around and like get it played. And when I was like 8, Toni Braxton came out, and I've just been like, that's my pocket. And so I'm happy to promote this single because I'm like, Toni's back. And then I look, I'm like, oh, you're blocked. I'm like, blocked? Why would Toni Braxton block me? And normally
we're having that question about somebody right now, actually.
And I normally don't, I don't usually care about the block celebrity thing or blocking me thing per se. I'm an opinionated person. I try to be respectful by my determination. And so I'm like, what happened? And so I kind of am trying to recapture, like, what could it have been? Could it have been those Braxton Family Values tweets? Was it something because I had names for her sisters. They were nicknames that I thought were funny.
It's starting to become very clear, Michael.
That you thought were funny. You're like,
the people laugh. Thank you. Like I called her sister Trina Braxton Mountie Braxton because she's from the Baltimore area, Maryland, but she talked like about, and she's like a Canadian. She sounds like the Mountie from the WWF days. So I was like, that's her name. Tawanda, which is not a drag to me, I said Yolanda Adams Face Braxton because she looks just like Yolanda Adams. But who doesn't want to look like
Yolanda Adams was a very attractive woman.
She's beautiful and she sings for Jesus. What's to complain about? Tracy May She Rest I did say left behind because the plot of the show was they left her behind.
Kind of,
And
sort of.
for the record, as I note in the book, Tracy ended up following me on Twitter because why? I supported her solo material. She has some good songs.
Yeah.
Boy Bob was a bop. So, one of
it's very nice that there's going to be someone on this show besides us who Courtney will then call up and go, I mean, because I'm always like, oh, what the fuck did I say?
Right. Like, I like the Braxton's R&B album in '96.
Yeah, I like that album too. Their cover of The Boss.
I'm a Braxton fan.
Yeah, their cover of The Boss
is fantastic.
A cute pop. It's a little moment. Mm-hmm.
So I thought I had carte blanche, but I did not. So I was blocked, and then I recount how another singer that I really like blocked me as well.
Who?
Janae Aiko, which is not that's not my fault either because I didn't tweet anything. But once again, I was trying to promote her singing. I'm doing free work. I'm the demo.
I like your
and. Well, what happened was I think she searched her name and people quoted me at some event where alcohol was provided to me and I was just commenting on R&B. All I was making a point was that Janae doesn't sing like Sade. I was just...
I mean, duh. Just because their names rhyme, they don't.
Because at the time, I remember Janae did this interview where she sort of kind of walked into the comparison. Like, I think it was a Complex interview. I was just like, you do your own thing, but you don't necessarily have the voice that Sade. I think Sade is an underappreciated vocalist. That's all my point was. I maybe didn't express it the best way. It was a lot of red wine, so I don't know. But I'm still blocked there too.
But yet, Michael, you are living a fulfilling life and going on.
Something like it. I'm trying.
Well, they're all big babies and they're all super sensitive. And I'm sorry, like I said, it's like I remember I wrote a review of Janet Jackson for some like a major mainstream thing, and I didn't sit there and like whatever the female equivalent of suck her fucking dick. I just went, oh, it's like the publicist is calling. Well, the publicist was our arch enemy. I won't say the name because you might be friends with them. But called me up, was like screaming at me, and I'm like, did I say like not everything is wonderful? Okay, the only thing you unconditionally love are your children, Pet Shop Boys, and Roxy Music. That's the only thing you unconditionally love. That's it.
And what I hopefully kind of try to capture in that chapter is like, you really can't be a critic anymore, particularly if you're trying to get out of the, media ghetto that is digital writing, which is, increasingly like it's all crumbling before us. Not to be on that, but it is. And so I try to write about how some of like what's interesting is like the people who I've actually, to me, been the maybe most critical of or direct were the ones who wanted to work with me. But I did make it clear beforehand. I was like, I think I was like, I'm not a fake ass bitch. I talked about you. And I'll pull it up right now if you want. Said that to Lee Daniels. But I increasingly noticed even like work I've done recently, it's certain artists, depending on the outlet, it's to the point where like their publicist has to approve.
Which is crazy. There's certain people, like Amy and I have talked about this all of the time.
Listen, I'm so glad I got out of it when I did.
You're free. Yes, be free.
There are certain artists that I don't feel like are written about really fairly because it's like everything isn't always great. Everything isn't always perfect, but it's almost like you don't read a critical point, even when it comes to their music and the stuff that they're doing. It's always starting out like, this is great, and then maybe chipping away at that. But it's like, that's not really how the shit works. And no artist has everything that they've put out has just been excellent and perfect. But you're right. It doesn't seem like
Pet Shop Boys and Roxy Music.
There seems to be like no place to really be honest about it, because now it's like everybody's so worried about, well, I need them to do this thing and I need them to be on a cover. Or I need them to do this. And it's like you're worried about feelings as opposed to telling the truth.
Yes, I think it's like a combination of things, but it even spills over, definitely spills over to even politics, even online. A lot of people treat Joe Biden like he's Beyonce, that you can't say anything wrong. I guess I understand stan culture because I grew up on the internet and I'm one of the very first people in general who have been like, y'all wrong about Beyonce. She's it. Like, I remember people being very critical. But I just think now the ecosystem is artists know that they have more power than ever. They don't want to be criticized. In general, a lot of the fan bases are wired to think any type of criticism is like this attack on somebody.
It's an attack. Yeah. Well, there's no nuance at all. There's no nuance. Everything is cap letters. And I will say, well, I'm somebody who is like, the whole poptism thing gives me a freaking headache, because I'm like, really? You mean like writing about Karen White because that's what you're assigned to? And I think that a lot of white critics fetishize black music because not every black artist is a fucking genius, and you don't have to. And I think Beyonce is one of those artists that she is critic proof in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of white writers are afraid to say anything negative about it unless they be seen as like, no, she's an artist, you know?
I will say though, and that's not me being defensive, but I think I understand why Beyonce doesn't do press, only because I think it's underappreciated how much of a student she is, and I think I wish more people would interrogate what is it like to be the very last type of black superstar of that type, arguably, or any type of celebrity outside of her and maybe a few other people. But I think what she saw, how Michael and Janet were both treated, Michael's a lot more complicated. Janet, I think, is a lot more cut and dry. I think that does have a lot of impact on that. But I will say with Beyonce, in terms of criticism, what you'll find is if maybe some white critics don't feel away, I'll say I see a couple white critics still take their shots at her. Now more than ever, they'll get the black writer who's on the black beat, who might be a bit disgruntled about it, do the work for them. I don't want to call anyone out individually because I actually normally enjoy like the thought of the writer, but I'll just say the Vulture film review of Renaissance I found incredibly distasteful.
I thought that was really out there. I was that felt personal. That didn't feel like an actual review of a concert film. It felt like something else.
It was a lot of things, which is, I think a lot of times Beyonce is like I do get she's overpraised in some ways, but I also think there's this other side where it's a lot of projection and conjecture, and it complicates like what should be a more, I think, vigorous debate about both her contributions and that maybe to some, like, she's not God, I get it. Yeah. But I think that was, for me, an example where you don't have the right, and particularly for me, like, it's 3 months since my mom passed. So for me, and also losing an uncle to AIDS, reading a review and watching someone say in this very cynical way about them exploiting, like they're ashamed of talking about the way someone died. That's not your place to say. It's not like we don't know he died of AIDS. It's not like we don't know his contribution to AIDS. And then there was a critique where she essentially said she was using her daughter or mothering as like this PR thing. It was just a very strange review to me that felt very personal. And again, like, I would have liked more people saying, you know, I like the film, but maybe I saw some critiques online, at least, that, you know, it was too much behind the scenes or too much of this. Like, I just actually interrogate the film, not make it so personal. It's either like, it's literally praise and worship, or to me, a very twisted thing.
There's no nuance. I mean, something that cracked me up, and it's people like Facebook really should only be used for cute cat videos and promotion. I mean, that's really, cute cat videos and promotion. And there was like, some back and forth, about a writer I did not know at the time, but back and forth, and they went something like, and, talking about Gianni Versace. And I went, whoa. She's not talking about Gianni Versace. She's talking about her uncle, Johnny. So you've done this whole
critique. Depressing.
This whole critique of her materialism and capitalism, black bourgeoisie, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, dude, you got the lyric wrong. So, oh, my bad. It's like, so your entire analysis is based around something. It's like me and, analyzing Hendrix by thinking he's saying, excuse me while I kiss this guy. I got the entire lyric wrong. So that's where I get a little
I didn't know that about Gianni Versace. That's very depressing. That reminds me a lot of People Don't Know Anything. And the editors probably have like 5 other jobs to do. They're like, just whatever, people will click it, which is also depressing.
And the editors are 25.
Yes.
If you have an editor at all. We were just talking about Usher's Super Bowl performance, and there was a headline, his comeback, and Courtney and I went, he hasn't been
anywhere. Like, he's been putting out records, he's been performing.
He's been over there in Vegas
from where?
Where's he coming back from? You know,
his response has been the response to that show has been very two Americas. I've noticed. I guess I'm not surprised, but it's wild still to me how someone that big still seems under the radar to some people.
We're just talking about that.
I was like, how did that happen? Like, I know culture has really fragmented in a way, but it wasn't really that long ago that Usher was a very big deal.
And had huge pop
and just
hits.
had
pop records.
But I think that was actually the problem when he picked up the glow stick. I think that's what messed the vibes up, the coverage, the EDM era. You might need to be stubborn like Beyonce with it and just ride it out.
No, it is really like, and I mean, I do, not to be like yay for me, but I mean, having lived where I've lived and having written for the type of outlets I wrote for, I mean, I do sometimes hear noises that other white dogs might not be able to hear. You know what I mean? But I'm like, Usher, Jesus Christ, he's a massive superstar.
I guess Usher, like, okay.
It's like
he's so more than Justin Timberlake. It's not
it's not like they had a Tank up there, you know, doing like the halftime show. This is somebody that sells out arenas worldwide. So this collective, like, I don't know who this is, and why are they having this type of music? It's like,
and how about this? Why don't you try to enjoy it? And we talked about this earlier in the show. It was an R&B show. I'm so sorry that people are so offended by R&B. I do not think that R&B artists should have to get up there when they get booked. Let me just do all my pop hits to appease a certain set of the audience. He's an R&B artist who's got 30 plus years worth of hits, and he chose to do the songs he chose to do. And that's what it
was very Black and Southern in a way that I appreciated. I enjoyed it a lot. I know one of my good friends, he had notes.
He had notes.
Well, I guess the sequence and the pace, you know, dance children, they're very like, they know Usher. And I think they saw the Vegas show. I get that because I guess there was a moment. My only thing was Usher, maybe a pre-recorded vocal at one point, but I thought he was amazing. And I loved
he was singing live.
No, I know he was. I just meant like one part, maybe he could have used it. Like when Alicia kind of, but she recovered. She recovered, to be fair.
He's 43 on roller skates. Give the man a break.
That's what I said. I was like, he is moving. He is an inspiration to me. I'm like, please let me look like this in a couple of years. Like he
really good.
Yeah.
He looked
middle-aged man champion. Yeah. I'm trying to be like that. He was.
I had notes about the sequencing. That's
what a lot of people had notes about sequencing.
My big note, because I thought he was great. The sequencing to me needed some tweaks. You know what I mean? It needed some tweaks.
I love Usher. It's just taste level sometimes.
Yeah. And I wish he had actually thrown one or two of the EDM moments in there, because it is a stadium. And I love DJ's Got Us Falling in Love Again. That shit makes me just like kind of throw my hands up in the air.
You wanted that one. I'm part of the problem.
Oh my
God.
No, he did. Which is, listen, but I feel like just the sequencing could have.
That's a good point, though.
Been switched around a little bit, And
good for that crowd.
He's got so many hits. Yeah, know, like the anthem rock. I would have liked to hear "You Remind Me." I love that.
Yes.
And I can go an entire lifetime without ever hearing Alicia Keys, but that's a whole other nice lady.
I mean, I get it. I saw her a long time ago now. It was good, but no, I get it. She looked great.
She looked great.
I mean, I was like, she looked beautiful. She looked great. What did Aretha Franklin say? Gowns.
Gowns. I'm very happy that whole I'm not wearing makeup thing. We're done with that.
Like leave us alone. The beat was great. It was a light, beautiful beat.
Stop making the rest. I mean, I don't wear a lot of makeup, but though when I have a guest, I try to put a little maquillage on. We don't have to be reminded that you have more money than God and are getting facials every 5 seconds.
Yes,
Mrs. Beats. You need to
with your very lovely art collection. Very
lovely art collection.
And on that note, we're going to take a commercial break and be right back.
right. What do you think about the Beyonce? I mean, shocking. Beyonce's doing a country record. I'm assuming, being from Houston, this is not surprising
Oh,
to you.
no, it doesn't. And no, first of all, I find that so hilarious. I don't know if I could, but so fucking funny that she dropped songs in the middle of the Super Bowl while she's casually just sipping on her water bottle.
Eating a French fry, just
that is so her. That
Yep.
I'm impressed that she did a commercial and actually spoke. I was like, wow, we're getting. She's talking to us. It cost maybe $30 million, but I guess no. I genuinely look Texas. Hold'em sounds like Texas. It sounds particularly like Black Night at the Rodeo. And 16 Carriages is honestly a really gorgeous, stunning song.
Yeah.
I am blown away that she continues to get better. And honestly, this is the thing where sometimes I mean like projection and conjecture. Personally, and while I understand the critique, I don't really expect pop stars to be revolutionaries. I just think ultimately, and I don't mean it in a bad way per se, like she's more of a traditionalist, and if anything, I think she's more quietly radical. And what I only said it to bring it up here is that I know there are two ways you can go about it. I appreciate The Weeknd being like, to hell with the Grammys. I know what it is. I don't need to be a part of it. I'm still going to be huge and walk away. Whereas Drake will complain about it, but still submit. Beyonce, they want that validation. They want to essentially hold the Academy to the standard they claim to want to uphold. This is a clear to me attention. Like, I'm trying to get on Black country radio, which is no easy feat even for her. Which will also, I think, make it easier for a lot of other Black country artists, women in particular, who have been talking about projects or who already have projects out. And I kind of am curious to see how the next year goes, because I get the sense that she's really going for album of the year. And I think I genuinely do think she deserves it and has been robbed of it. And I don't personally, like, I get, again, why I respect people who are like, to hell with it all. But I think in this way, like, she's really, again, like a black girl of her celebrity trying to get on country radio and trying to take this country project all the way. And more importantly, also, she just shows, I'm sorry if I'm jumping, like different sides of what Blackness looks like. I've written in the past in my books, like for me, particularly my first book, as much as I admire like Beyonce, a performer, an artist, I just always think, because she comes from a much nicer background than I do in Houston, but she's shown all types of Black people. And I think a lot of people, what they consider to be pro-Black is very like pronounced and like articulate stuff. But to me, it was always pro-Black, because she had Black, queer, trans, and Southern folk working behind the scenes, being on camera, performing her on stage 15 years ago, incorporating bounce music, little elements of like all these things that you wouldn't find on mainstream culture. And to me, like, she's not the first. Obviously, there are other Black country artists, but I think this is probably going to be a lot of people's access points into what music that like Black people in Texas and Western states and across the South know, but they probably wouldn't have any other entree points. So I think, to me, she just kind of, it's really, those things are really unappreciated. I understand why people have critiques about why she doesn't take certain stances, but I think in terms of like her job as a performer and artist, I do think she uses her level of celebrity and power delicately in a way that I hope will get more appreciated. Because I'll stop now, but I really like the songs, but ultimately I like what she's trying to do. I think she's really trying to push people to like embrace people they otherwise would ignore, because I feel like she's hard to ignore.
And it's also about the origins of certain things, right? It's like
she's
the origins of
where
did country music, like from the blues and all of that, and we kind of they try to sometimes erase our contributions to everything. What I appreciated about her doing the dance moment is people like to call it a house music album. I'm like, it's not a house music album. I'm like, there are elements of house in that album. But what she's done is take a lot of pieces of where a lot of this music started and was created by queer people and Black people. And when the dance music moment happened and it really blew up, who got left out of that? The queer people and the Black people. Suddenly you were seeing all of these DJs getting multi-million-dollar contracts to go do Vegas residencies. None of them were the Black DJs. You know what I
None
mean?
of them.
They weren't the queer. They weren't the people who were really like. I think about. Listen, I used to do all of Beyonce's dance remixes for a lot of years, for five albums, and I would be fighting with, the teams that I gave it to promote it, because back then, like, it was really a lot of EDM and like big club music. But I always made sure that we had house mixes. And I would have to tell them, I'd be like, listen, send these out to everyone. Beyonce is a Black artist. I'm not just going to send out a bunch of high energy club remixes. And just because you don't count toward the Billboard club charts, all of these Black clubs and their DJs are not on this list. I need, when I walk into a Black club, a Latino club, an Asian club, I need to be able to hear a version of this for those DJs to play too. It just can't be some big room thing. And it was a fight for a lot of years. It's like, they'd be like, you always like house remixes. I was like, she's a Black artist. So the bass is going to start there and everything else is going to come on top of that. And it would always make me happy when I would walk in someplace and I would hear the DJs playing those songs, because that let me know. Because these aren't the ones who are reporting into Billboard and into Beatport and to TrackSource. But guess what? The music that was supposed to get to them was getting to them, and they were playing it. And that was always important. And I think that when people look at her, sometimes I think they forget that she's Black. They think she's Beyonce and it's this big thing. And she's been reminding them with this series of music, bringing it back to say, I don't have to be put into a box just because I'm Black and you expect me to sing R&B songs or a pop moment. So I love that she's doing this country record. I love that Rihanna Giddens is on this record.
I love that.
You know what I mean? It's like, because there are actually a lot of Black country artists, and there's a lot of young Black women making country music that are not on these major labels, that are really playing guitars, playing banjos, writing these songs and giving you true, authentic, and not like the country pop. They are giving you country music. So her doing this, I think, will do the same thing that happened when she decided to go into this dance space. It put a light in that area, and a bunch of people had a light. That the shadow from that light was on them. And I'm hoping that the same thing happens in this space for a lot of these artists, And I think it's smart of her.
Also, I think, I definitely think this is a play for an album of the year. And that's not to be cynical, but I think whenever you're somebody who's established in one way and you're showing depth, it's getting attention, and country it's still the biggest market, right? Outside of, I think it's bigger than hip hop, but country music fans are country music fans. I mean, there's,
I remember her CMA's performance.
Right. I mean, look what they did. Look what they've done to country music artists who have dared, and especially in our MAGA times, country music fans can be a little harsh. And when you have people who are quote unquote progressive going on and on about how Jay-Z wasn't grateful enough, it's like, oh my God, white people, did you not get the memo about certain words should not be used to describe articulate, grateful, well-spoken? Like
we all went to school
and set it on fire.
It's like, hi, I went to school in America too. Fun fact.
Right.
Fun fact.
I mean, do you think we can't predict the future and we don't know what the rest of the album is going to sound like, but do you think there's going to be a pushback? I mean, she is.
I'm sure there will be a pushback, but I really do think it is for album of the year. I do think she genuinely means it. I think it can be both, but I'm very curious. I'm pretty sure there'll be a pushback both from quite a few country music station programmers. I'm curious to see how country male artists will talk about it. I've seen some positive people comment so far, mostly women.
I've heard also I played on the radio in Nashville. I
did see them.
I heard that there was a station, one of the big stations in Nashville has played.
Because there's a real push there.
Well, she is Beyonce.
That's what it is. Like, she's Beyonce. So
kind of transcends, like,
right. But remember when she performed with the Dixie Chicks on the CMT? Yeah. I mean, just there was a lot of pushback, and
that's what I'm waiting on. What's the album?
Upset, and they felt. And remember, it was their most popular video when they put it online because of the pullback. they pulled it off. And then the uproar of them pulling it off made it even bigger. And 24 hours later, they had to put the video back on. So we will see.
But wasn't that more because of the chicks?
I think a lot of that. Some of it, I think, was the chicks. They were mad about the chicks,
but they were mad about her. Let's be real. They were mad. Yeah. This black girl's on our show singing, and now it's the most popular video up. It was the numbers were there, and suddenly you pull your most popular video.
I think part of it was Beyonce, but because I remember the faces. They were pissed about the chicks. It's the nerve of her only being in that space, but then you bringing them. I thought we left them in the Bush era,
right?
So that's sort of what I'm worried about, because I think there'll be more of that. Because knowing her, she's gonna poke that a bit in the art. But I do remember Grammy voters in particular, like playing in her face about the level of artistry, or like she's got enough awards, and how they ripped Renaissance. When you do like a country or what is Americana record they're pushing,
are they calling it Americana?
I forgot that Pharrell in one interview teased it as Americana. I haven't heard anything directly, but I remember that was one of the teases when...
That's for country music who don't marry their cousins, basically.
Yes. I was like, Americana is cute. You're right.
But let me
Jason
just say this about
Jason Isbell is country
about the Grammy.
It's Black Night at rodeo music to me.
Right.
Here's the thing about the Grammy thing, and people are screaming the Grammys. Listen, the Grammys have done their jobs in some way. She gets the nominations. The truth of the matter is, Jay and all those people, look at your colleagues and your friends, because those are the people who vote, right? And I've said this to Amy before. I think that there are people who that is the way that they show personally that they do not like her when it comes down to time to vote. Think about the Academy Awards, right? All of her contemporaries, all of them, when they have been nominated for a Music Academy Award, they have won. Eminem, Adele, Billie Eilish looks like she's about to win a second one. Sam Smith for the worst James Bond song that no one can even remember the name.
Oh, I forgot about that. Why Aaron Neville?
Lady Gaga. Like, go through the list.
That's not fair to Aaron Neville.
Well, Aaron Neville's better for that, but when initially he came out, I was like, oh, this is giving White Aaron Neville. That's what you selling me.
No,
that first album.
That whole thing that people think if you sing in falsetto, you're soulful.
But each time she has gotten nominated for an Academy Award for her song, where you think, well, she's going to win. She does not win.
This is being a black woman thing.
Yes, I'm telling you, but Amy, the people win that song category goes with name recognition. It just 3 6 Mafia fucking won. You know what I mean? We're talking the song category. But she has been nominated more than once, and they have not, for some reason, not checked her name. Same thing with the album of the year.
I'm Just Ken, for Christ's sakes. Why are we even having this conversation?
That 2013 surprise album, I was in the office that night when it came. We watched the world wake up. She literally, that was such an earth-moving moment in music, right?
Yes.
Literally watching the world wake up at midnight and being like, oh my God, there's a new album. Oh my God, there's a video for every song on I was like, this is it. This is the year. Because when she didn't win for Sasha Fierce, I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But I thought the 2013 album, this gave you everything. And then when they announced Beck, it was like, oh, that's interesting.
Taking the I Am Sasha year, she did get one of the majors in the Song of the Year for Single Ladies. But just generally speaking, they've only given the award 3 times to Black women. They don't especially like to give it to younger Black artists in general. Even with the Academy Awards, like I used to say this when I was promoting my first book, I'm like, it's sort of the same problem. If you don't fit someone's idea of what you think artistry or of a certain caliber is, you're kind of damned if you do, but especially if you're a Black woman. But, you know, the few Black women that won Oscars, they mostly play someone impoverished or a drug addict.
Or
only
slave.
Only 3 Black women have won for Album of the Year. I think it is them expressing they don't like her, but I remember reading the Grammy, like it was one of the trades. It was a very long, exhaustive like quiz of like anonymous Grammy voters. There was such a clear disdain and gender and racial bias in most of those comments that it's hard to penetrate. But that's why I also think this country record, depending on how it's handled, it's a little harder for them to deny, because I'm aware they have to know at this point how bad it looks. The critique about Jada, like, well, if you know what it is, why show up? Is ultimately they want the award. Again, if you want to be like The Weeknd and you don't care. They care, and this is their way. I think she's overdue. I would like to think. I know Taylor Swift is usually probably due to get it again, but I feel like next year Taylor will even be like, you know what, give it to her. I don't need it. I've got
first of all,
like
nobody thought. I don't even think Taylor thought she was going to win for Midnight, which was a fine album. But I thought it was going to be SZA. I don't think Taylor.
I wanted to be SZA, but I didn't think they would give. I figured they would give it to Taylor. I was like, she's really. They love
I didn't
her.
think Taylor's going to. Yeah, but I think Taylor is going to be. Well, they also love her because she plays the game. I mean, she
plays the game. She gets the ratings, but ultimately.
But she's going to be different. She's going to be so busy, like leading the deep state and bringing down.
Yes, she is.
She's going to be very busy. I mean,
I didn't realize she was a far left icon. That was
no.
And really Ice Spice is a Satanist, apparently.
You know what I'm saying?
No. And her and her boyfriend are going to be vaccinating everybody, and everyone's going to be trans. I mean, I don't think she can handle all of that. And, and replacing Joe Biden with somebody, it's going to be a lot, Michael. I really think you're giving Taylor, I think she needs to take a break.
She's so powerful. But, honestly, she can trip into a major award just by virtue of, like, ultimately the Grammy voters who particularly, because I'll say that about the Grammys, as far as, like, the R&B categories or the genre-specific categories in general, I actually think they have improved in recent years with different voters. But when it comes to those major awards, the game is the game, and I just hope it changes. But Taylor Swift can trip into Album of the Year because fundamentally they just value her work more than they will a Beyonce. And it's not a knock to Taylor because I don't want the smoke, but even her, because she doesn't bother me one way or the other, but I will say her not being as threatening as Beyonce just really.
But we also have to look at the numbers, right? And the truth of the matter is, and people hate me when I say this part, Taylor's numbers are bigger than Beyonce's. They just are. Beyonce's fans love her. Renaissance was number one on the Hot 200 chart for 1 week, right? It stayed in the top 10 for a lot of weeks. Taylor's album stayed number one for multiple weeks. And Beyonce's never had a million selling week. Taylor's last 5 to 6 albums have sold 1 million plus each in a week, and she stays number one for multiple weeks. So where Beyonce has won a lot of her Grammys, and she doesn't have as many pop hits as people think. Pop radio has not been as great to Beyonce as people actually think. They really haven't, and it sucked. And it's been a fight for years with pop radio, because as big as Beyonce is, you would think they would automatically add the songs, automatically be like, okay, and they don't as much as people think. Taylor Swift comes in, her songs, they debut at number one on that Hot 100 chart, and they stay there.
Yeah, but I think that has a lot to do with, I get the numbers argument. I'll say the Beyonce album that you mentioned, it actually sold 1 million in a week, but because it came out so late, because she fundamentally changed how her release schedule is, they made it from Tuesday to Friday. She sold 1 million in a week, but she sold close to 1 million 3 days.
Well, which one are you talking about? The 2013 album?
Yeah, she actually cleared 1 million in the first 7 days, but it released.
Yeah, well, but I said that to say in those first days, it sold I think it was 673,000.
But in the actual total 7, it was my only point with that is I get that Taylor is a unique celebrity unto herself, but I also think the metric a lot of times now, how you quantify that, isn't really a benefit to Black artists. There's the decimation of Black radio that has happened over decades. A lot of chart singles from SWV and all these groups that have these big Hot 100 hits in the 90s, they wouldn't have any of them now. They'd be relegated to AC format. That's what I mentioned also about Beyonce being quietly radical. I think when EDM picked up was right at the moment when Black radio, mass consolidation, a lot of radios were being shut down. A lot of those radio stations were at the time being reported not to promote their value as much. And even though I'm not on her right now with the Dead Mama crack, a lot of the Nicki Minaj complaints about Billboard and the structuring have been not wrong, and they have made little tweaks. But I think we live in this time now where you can quantify Taylor Swift's sales and impact. She's clearly the biggest on the planet. I think it is harder to a lot of times quantify now Black artists who shift culture and change a lot of things because the metrics are different. We don't buy as much anymore. And usually people who do have means are like white fans and country fans. This is why they tend to sell
Yeah,
more
no, I'm
actual
not buying
units
that. Black people
than
have money. We have money.
Black people have money, but they don't. People don't buy albums though. So if you're talking about like how
but a lot
the
of people
smaller
do
portion
buy
of the
albums.
population, a lot of people don't buy albums anymore though. They don't.
But
And a smaller share of that is like the majority.
Mm-hmm.
Black radio doesn't exist anymore at smaller levels. They don't. They always change the metrics of how you rate the Hot 100. It's like a consistent game of the system that, to me, I wish were more reported on, but that's blowing up. It's not unlike the 50s, 60s, 70s about how segregated and fragmented it is. Right. So I do think, because like even with Tank had the biggest hit of his career 2 years ago during the pandemic.
Yeah.
He had to literally teach artists at his show how to stream his single as opposed to wanting to buy it or do this, because iTunes is pretty much, I mean, I know people like to post about iTunes all the time now, but it's like 3 people that buy iTunes singles and they usually like top the charts. Like those sales don't count anymore. Weird. I just think the metrics are all really because Beyonce also hasn't really actively played the game anymore. She doesn't do press. She does surprise releases. Taylor has like traditional campaigns. She's very much like the last type of artist that does that. And again, and maybe you might have to agree, but I just think fundamentally right now, white artists or maybe K-pop benefit in a way how things are charted now. Where I personally, because we live in like climate now where like you can look at the Hot 100, the top 20 songs, not even top 10. Different parts of the population have no idea what song this is because everything's so spaced out.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I think it's really cloudy now how you measure who's big enough. Because I do think Beyonce, if she did a traditional rollout with press, singles, all of this, particularly a couple of years ago, I think the sales wouldn't be as far away. But it's like an active choice to not do EDM when people were doing it. It's like an active choice to kind of do that. Like, and again, like Tank had to teach aunties how to stream, which is why he had this huge hit. I don't think most people have the know-how or even the support to do that anymore. So I think a lot of Black artists, even Beyonce, are kind of shortchanged in that way because it's not a fair
Beyonce
metric
has
anymore.
A global audience. She doesn't just have a Black audience, right? She doesn't,
but I think the core is the core now.
I'm gonna jump in here just for a second. I just want to bring it back around so you can plug your book.
Yes, the book. Yes, the book.
Really kind of crazy question, I guess, before we let you go. Is there in our fragmented world, in our traumatized world, in our people don't read, people don't consume media the way they used to, what is the role of an essayist right now? And you have 10 seconds to answer that question.
Generally speaking, I like to make people laugh. I like to make people think. And particularly with this book, more than ever, I want people to feel less alone. I think there's a lot of discourse and conversations, but I don't think many, at least collectively, talk to like the grief we all shared from like 2020. There are a lot of people dying that no one tends to talk about, and a lot of people quietly suffering who don't feel the space to be able to talk about it. So I think the role of me and like someone in books who, believe me, I understand people do not read, is that I think people who are looking to feel less alone or like to laugh and escape, to me, there's still nothing better than like a book, particularly from a point of view that makes you feel like, you're not crazy. You don't have to listen to the algorithm. These things are actually happening to you. So I hope people find the book. They can laugh, they can like cry a little bit if they have to, but just generally, like, you're not alone and you shouldn't feel crazy, which I feel like I hear from people quietly, but not so much on like my feeds.
No, definitely. I think that we're going to see it, a post-pandemic ethos and aesthetic, not to use aesthetic in the real sense of the word, not the way the kids use it now, and mentality, because we went through the worst thing probably collectively that we have seen, and the culture is only going to start reflect as we finally recuperate from it, literally, yes, physically and mentally, and it's impacted in so many different ways. And we could go on and just come back every week if you could you just do that for us?
I'm around. I got to promote. This was great. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, so we're gonna I'm gonna promote the book again and hold it up so that people can't see it. Michael Arceneaux, I finally brought some Jordans. Again, call me. I got the hookup. it comes out when exactly? Let me just check. When is the book out?
It's out March 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, someone sent me some Jordans.
Nice.
I got the books are coming.
Nice.
I bought some, but send me some. It's rough out here. No, but it's out March 12th. Every pre-order matters. Every sale matters.
We are gonna promote it. You're gonna be doing a book tour. You're gonna be coming to.
Yes, I'll be in New York March 12th at the Strand for the.
Bless your heart for going to the Strand. Thank you, Michael.
They helped me launch my very first book. That was my first book event ever, so it'll be great to go back. That'll be March 12th. Tickets are available. I'll be at DCA Politics and Prose. Be in Houston March 19th at Kendra Stories, and LA, I believe that's March 15th. Reparations bookstores. But come find me. I'm around, but please buy the book. And thank you both again. I'm really glad you liked the book.
Yeah. Hold on for one sec. Courtney's going to take us out, and then we just need you to stay on to make sure we wrap correctly.
All right, you know what it is, kids. Appreciate artists doing different shit. Don't put them in a box. Appreciate writers. Appreciate writers. Please read more. And y'all, Beyonce doing country is a fierce thing. We love it. So, if that's the case, you know what it is. Come back here next week on the Pantheon Podcast Network. Listen to us. Follow us on our Facebook page at ImmaLetYouFinish, all one word. We're on TikTok at ImmaLetYouFinish Podcast. You know, all the other places. We're there. You're there. We'll see you next week.
Hey, this is Liberty DeVito.
This is Mike Del Giudice.
This is Michael Cavanaugh from Broadway's Moving Out.
This is John Jackson, director of the Billy Joel Archive.
This is Russell Javers.
This is Richie Cannata, and you're listening to Glass Houses, a Billy Joel podcast. It's awesome.
I'm Michael Grosvenor.
And I'm Jack Fernino.
We're lifelong Billy Joel fans who launched a podcast in 2020 celebrating the music we love.
Whether you're looking for the greatest hits or the B-sides and rarities, you'll find it all here. And if you've ever wondered what happens behind the scenes of a concert or recording session, we've got you covered.
Join us as we explore albums, tours, band members, the latest news, and more. You'll also get a unique glimpse into the music industry straight from the musicians and other professionals who help make it all happen.
Tune into Glass Houses, a Billy Joel podcast at glasshouses.pod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Glass Houses, a Billy Joel podcast is a proud member of the Pantheon Podcasts Network.